What's going on, my friends? This is Dustin Stelzer with Electrician U. We're getting further in my remodel of my house. As you can see, we got new recessed cans up there. We also have new flooring, and there's no more popcorn in the ceilings. Oh my God, I'm so happy about that. I still gotta put my little vents back on. But it's coming together. There's a few little things that I have to do. Like I have to paint some trim. Dogs chewed up some trim, so I gotta sit and touch that up. There's still some paint that I need to do. I wanted to get a three-way switch set up over there on that doorway and sync it to a switch over here. So what's cool is I've got some devices to install. Legrand sent me a bunch of their controlled wiring devices. So basically they have a wireless switch. So I don't even have to like run wires and cut holes and all that stuff. I can just put a switch over there and tie it to a three-way, program it through their app. They've got this app called the Legrand Home Plus Control app. And once I get that hooked up, I can sync the app with these devices. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of show you guys some of the installs of the devices, show you how the wireless gateway works to talk with the app, and then we're gonna go through the app and kind of control some of these lights so you can see the whole process. The first thing that I'm going to do is install a smart gateway down behind the couch. I've got a receptacle back there that I just never use because I've never had access to it. So that's where the smart gateway is going to be. And then you go over into the dining room, which is right now just the dog room. But I have this switch right here that controls the lights, controls these cans up here. And I don't have a way over here to control those same lights. This just controls the lights in the kitchen. That's my cans. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a wireless switch right here. Doesn't require wires. I'm just gonna install it right next to this one and then put a 2-gang plate over it and actually put the smart dimmer over here. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out this receptacle right here, and I'm gonna end up putting a smart receptacle in its place. That way I have control of that receptacle, so if I wanna plug anything in over here, I've at least got that within the app that I have control of. So to put the gateway in, pretty simple. You just hook it up like a regular device. So it's got a ground screw on the top. Now this is the typical dimmer that you're going to find, just a normal Diva from Lutron. Got the little slider on it. What I'm going to do is change that out with this smart dimmer from Legrand. Notice this thing does require a neutral. There's actually some little LEDs inside of here, so this is a powered device. So it's going to get its power from the hot and the neutral. That's going to illuminate whatever my dimming levels are. And then we've also got the switch leg that we have to hook up to our leg that goes up to the light. And then we've got our ground that we need to hook in with the rest of the grounds back there. So first thing that I'm going to do is put my ground on. Look at how short these conductors are. Like, this is crazy. Somebody actually cut those ungrounded hot conductors back there, and they had to pigtail out just to be able to get a device on. Don't ever do this. Same thing here. It's like there's just nothing to work on, like that just really, there's no reason for that. You should be leaving your conductors out here, like 8 inches outside of the box, man. The more the better, up to a certain point. You don't want to put too much out there, because once you have to stuff all that back in, you've got this thick device to stick back in that box. A lot of that will get in your way, so you don't want it too long, but this is way, way, way too short. This is maybe an inch outside of the box, so that's against code. Okay, so what does the National Electrical Code say about these conductor lengths? 300.14, length of free conductors at outlets, junctions, and switch points. At least 6 inches of free conductor measured from the point in the box where it emerges from its raceway or cable sheath shall be left at each outlet, junction, and switch point for splicing or the connection of luminaires to devices. So 6 inches from the inside of the box. Where the opening to an outlet, junction, or switch point is less than 8 inches in any dimension, each conductor shall be long enough to extend at least 3 inches outside of the opening. So in the case of a switch box like this, or receptacle or something, there's no 8 inches anywhere. That's, that the box is like 2 by 4, roughly. But there's no point in that box, even with depth, that it is more than 8 inches. So that what that means is if something is like an 8 by 8 junction box, you can reach your hands in there and mess with short wires. But when you have these small little boxes, you can't get your hands in there to mess with stuff. So that's why they say if it's less than 8 inches in any dimension, then you need to at least make sure that the conductors stick 3 inches outside of the box before you cut them. So I take this, I interpret this to mean that even if you're taking all of your grounds, your equipment grounding conductors, and you're trying to pigtail all of them together and you want to cut all of them really, really short, you at least need to come 3 inches outside of one of these device boxes to cut them before you make your pigtail. So that at least, gives like that much wire on the outside, which means that there's about that much wire on the inside as well. So you're kind of around the 6-inch area if you go 3 inches outside of the box. Then the exception to that right underneath says conductors that are not spliced or terminated at the outlet, junction, or switch point shall not be required to comply with 300.15. So if you're not actually splicing anything or terminating on an outlet, then you don't have to worry about that. But let's just be like logical about the situation. Don't leave wires too short. Always leave a little bit long because you can always trim them down. Once they're too short, they're just too short. So don't screw the next guy or girl that's coming behind you. Leave your wires long enough. All right, so I'm gonna get my ground stuffed all the way in the back. Just get it out of the way. I always put my stranded conductors just a little ahead of the actual solid conductors. If you go back here, look what happens. You put this on and you end up being able to pull it out. It just doesn't make a good connection. So if you put stranded conductors just slightly ahead of the solid conductors, they kind of twist in there so it finds its own way. And then it's a solid termination. I can't get that to move at all. All right, now I'm gonna get that out of the way, push it as far back as possible. I'm gonna get this pushed back as well. It's already there's so much going on in that box now because they made everything short. So that is an excess wire nut that we didn't need to have, but since it's so short, it's gotta stay. Last thing I'm gonna do, get my stranded conductors. Notice that I always twist them, just because like if you do this and you try to put that together, like look at that, you saw that spark? I can use one of these threads and I can turn my lights on with one of the threads. See, my lights just came on and now they're back off. You only need one of the threads. You don't want to do that because there's not enough current that can travel on that. That's a huge resistance. But the reason I twist them together is I don't want something like this to happen. Right, where I put this on here and now I've got these hot conductors just sticking out of there. So I always just try to manage them. Plus it makes it a little bit more like a solid conductor when you put these things together. Now you see me putting these together and I'm working on this hot because I'm actually trying to do a demonstration and I wanted to talk about the hot conductors, but when you're doing this work, don't do this live. So always go shut your breaker off, turn everything off, then work on everything and then go turn the breaker back on when you're done. All right, get that stuffed all the way back there. Now, we're gonna see if this will fit all the way in the box. I always pop the screws off because I want the device to fit by itself without having to put pressure on the screws. And you can see it doesn't fit. There's so much going on back there. So now I'm gonna have to reorganize these and try to get everything out of the way just so I can get this dang thing to fit. All right, so I'm gonna get the big wire nut pushed all the way in the back. And I'm using a soft surface to kind of push a little bit more. You don't want to put anything sharp back there and damage the conductors. Leave these out, put the next biggest one back there. Same thing. I'm not hitting on them, I'm just kind of leaning into them. That way it squishes them back there even more. And we don't have enough to put one wire nut above and one wire nut below. So let's just see if that did anything. I'm gonna try to stack them all in the empty spaces back there. Hopefully that does it. And boom, it does. So I'm always trying to fit wire nuts when in a situation like this into empty spaces and just get them all so that you don't have things stacked out in front of each other. Last thing to do is put our screws in. The reason that it's important to take it all back out and redo your wire nuts back there is because you don't want to strip out the holes back here. If you've got a whole bunch of pressure on this thing and you're trying to slam it in there, you've got these 832 screws right here, and you can strip that out really easily. And then you can go find a bigger screw or something else. You gotta, like, on the spot, try to figure out something to do. All right, so I have decided, rather than doing the whole 2-gang thing, really I'm gonna put one over here and one over there. Just a personal choice. You could put a 2-gang if you wanted to. You could put it in a 3-gang. Doesn't really matter. You could even have a box here. Instead of putting this on a wall, it would still work. It would attach to a box. I'm just not doing that. So if you do have a 2-gang, 3-gang, something like that, and you don't want to have to use wires and you're just going to utilize one of the spaces, you could use a box. Let's go next to it. Now, I've already connected this system to test it out, so you can tell right now just by me hitting it. See, it gets darker in here, gets lighter. So I know that this switch, if I turn it off and walk over here, this switch turns it back on. So they work as a 3-way together across the room. This one is just talking to this one. And I can sit in dim if I want to, or I can go all the way bright and shut it off. So now I have a 3-way. Last thing that I'm gonna do is put this smart plug in here, smart receptacle, sorry. Again, we have really short wires. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, now this device, what do we have here? We have a white, we have a hot that says line, so the line side is always going to be our incoming power, and load if we had more devices down the line. They would be sharing the neutral side. This means that it is actually listed for 2 stabs, so if you wanted to stab one wire in, stab another wire in, you don't have to, so it doesn't matter which one of those you put on. But it also means I don't need hooks anymore. I'm not going to bend hooks and put the hooks on the outside of this plate. I'm gonna actually strip these out, put them inside of there, and then tighten, and then on the inside it's gonna cinch down on the wire. Same thing on this plate right here you see for the ground. This little tab lifts up and the conductor actually goes underneath it. And that is way too long. So you've got this little strip gauge on the back. Most receptacles come with this. It lets you know how much you need to strip to actually hit the contacts inside of that device. So if we go like that, I know that I can cut off probably about that much. And now we're within our strip gauge. We said line side, right? So line side is where both of these are. So I'm gonna take neutral, it says white. So my line side white is this one. My line side black is that one. So I'm gonna push it in, just make sure that it is all the way in. I use the back side to make sure that it's in. And it kind of gives me a little bit of stability so I can tighten this thing and I know it's not gonna come loose. And then put another little half turn on it. Don't want to over tighten, but you also don't want to leave it loose enough where these are going to pull out. And we've got our line black wire. Again, I'm going to grab it, pull the wire in, just keep some tension on it, make sure it's not going to come out at all. And a good little quarter turn there. Not coming out, we are good to go. Now we just got to accordion all this craziness back in the box.
So the next thing that we need to do is go to the Legrand Home Plus Control app and download that from the App Store.
And in here you can set up loads. You can see I was testing it. So I have light 1. I can change my dim levels. I can shut the light off completely. You can see like on the floor, the light above me is turning on and turning off. So if I hit it again, boom, comes on full bright. And then you can change your dim levels. You can set home, you can set away, you can set a wake up and sleep. You can actually set entire scenes in here. So if you have multiple different loads and you want to like come in your house and you want certain lights to turn on, like certain pathways, you can do all of that. It's sensing that I have a smart gateway in my living room. So I'm gonna confirm that. Then it's sensing the wireless dimmer, which is what we installed up there. Sensing the light, so that's the actual light load in the room. Add a product. Legrand. Now this device, I had to actually pair with this device. So there's a separate process for pairing those two devices. But the first thing I had to do was set the gateway up so that the gateway would recognize the device, the smart dimmer. And then from the smart dimmer, the wireless dimmer, I had to pair with it. The last thing that we got to do is get that smart receptacle down there on the system. All right, so on the smart gateway, you notice there's this little button on the side. You need to push this for 5 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. You see it light up. Let go. I'm gonna hit next. All right, so now that I have the actual device on, it shows that it's on, so I should get lights here. I have them. Then I'm gonna hit this off. Boom. You can even hear it click. It clicks off. Turn it back on. Boom. It's on. So now I have control of this and I can set this to a schedule. If I had a Christmas tree that I was gonna put in this window, I could control when the lights turn on, turn off. I could manually turn them on and off in the outlet or in the app. I can go to my living room. I have my can lights off right now, but if I wanted to, I could just click lights on. Boom, they're gonna go to whatever dim level that I have it set at. I can go full bright if I want, or I can go dim them down as much as I want. And then, if I wanna just shut everything off, got this over here, and now I have a wireless switch over here that I didn't have to do anything with wires with, and I can turn all of that back on. Pretty cool. Now, one other thing that we want to do is put our screwless plate on. So these devices all come with these screwless plates, and to get it to stick on, it wouldn't stay on there, so you need this back plate to stick it on. So kind of cool, once the device is actually in place, you just screw this thing in. You should have this in the corners that says up. So that side needs to go up. Just go boom, snap it in place. It says easy as that. So I'm gonna go put the plates on all the rest of these. So this one just snaps right on. All right, doggers, what do you think? What do you think of the new tech that we just put in the house? Luna, what do you think back there? Like, man, I don't care. Just get me out of this dang cage. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for you. Let me know what you think. If you guys have tried them before, leave some comments below. As always, I really appreciate you guys' attention. I appreciate you constantly following and supporting what I do. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video if you like this video, hit the notification bell, lets you know every time I do a new episode. Give a thumbs up for Miss Sula here, my little puppy Belgian Malinois. We love you. See you in the next episode.
Best music and video.